Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Rats in Boilersuits, the Torchwood podcast. My name is Kim, and this is Steph, and we are gradually making our way through a rewatch of the best TV show in the world, Torchwood. This episode, we are looking at episode 4 of series 1, which is called Cyberwoman. Is it called Cyberwoman?
It is called Cyberwoman.
Yeah?
You
Cool. I mean, Yep. Steph, would you like to give us a brief synopsis of Cyberwoman?
Well, do you know what? So, because I do the synopses for the even-numbered episodes, it means I have 3 Chibnall episodes in a row to summarise, because he did episodes 2, 4, and 6. Yeah. This one, I mean, it feels cheeky for me to even call this taking a turn, because I can sum this up so very quickly. It's a very simple episode.
It is.
It turns out that Yanto Jones, the secretary essentially, has secretly been keeping his girlfriend in the Torchwood base. The reason that's a secret is because his girlfriend has been converted into a sexy killer robot.
Keyword there being sexy, definitely.
Like the Cybermen, who have no emotions. The Cybermen are a very old, very famous Doctor Who monster.
Yeah.
They have converted her into a sexy robot, a race that does not have a concept of sexy, and yet they've managed admirably.
Yep. There are so many stages that this could have not gone in that direction. Because, okay, the logic they have later on, we'll get to all this, but the logic they have is that it was the Battle of Canary Wharf, everything was going wrong, the Cybermen started rushing, and instead of moving brains into the robot bodies, they started converting entire bodies. Which, fine, it's sci-fi. I can get on board with that. What I don't understand is, in this rush, how they managed to make metal sexy lingerie. It's like, surely it would look the same as the previous generation of Cybermen that we'd seen. And why is she sexy, Steph? Why is she sexy?
I'd forgotten this because, I had a vague memory that there was an excuse that they didn't even have enough metal to use, and that's why they had to be a bit skimpy on the metal. But you look at it, and it is so intricate.
It's so intricate. They've got, a little design that highlights her navel. Just to draw attention to it. It's so weird. Because I watched this one with my housemates, and there's a bit where she turns around, and we all just went, oh, God. She's got metal ass crack just sculpted in there. It's not okay.
Nobody wanted this.
No one
I don't
wanted
think
this.
anyone was crying out for a sexy Cyberman.
Yanto Jones was.
Yanto Jones was.
Do you know what as well? We were watching it, right? I was fully watching this. My housemates, Aaron was cooking tea, and he, for most of the episode, as I was trying to give him all these explanations, he had this idea, because he's never seen Torchwood before, that Yanto fell in love with her after she was half converted. He was like, I just don't understand why the sexy Cyberwoman was irresistible. And I was like, no, Aaron. No, she was a sexy Cyberwoman afterwards.
Yeah, that's true, actually. The sexiness of the Cyberwoman is irrelevant, has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's not like Yanto, there's no line in it where Yanto's like, oh, well, if they had to make her a killer robot, at least they've made her a sexy one.
Yeah. He would never have snuck her into Torchwood to try and deconvert her if it wasn't for the fact that she was pretty sexy.
And I'd love it if there was a line where he was like, if you can keep her looking like this, that's fine.
That was actually his dream.
So he brings an expert over. The expert tries to do something a bit sci-fi to try and reconvert her, but it goes a bit wrong.
Yeah.
And it just makes her even more of a killer robot. She kills the expert. She is on a rampage. And then the rest of the episode is the Torchwood team trying to stop her from getting out. Because if she gets out of this base, Cybermen can create more Cybermen. That would be really dangerous. No matter what, Yanto's position is there must be some way to save her. Jack's position is, no, you cannot. It's never been done. You can't unconvert someone once they've been turned into a Cyberman. Or, as in this case, a sexy Cyberwoman. So we just need to kill her. So they go into lockdown. So I kind of like this concept that there is something in the base they have to stop getting out.
Yeah.
And I think I would like this episode if it was anything other than a sexy Cyberwoman.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the concept. And I really like exclusively character-based episodes of Torchwood more than I remember. Because when you have a character-driven episode where you're just going into a member of the team, I really like the snippets of the rest of the team that you get. So this one follows Yanto, and I like examining what that secret means for his relationship with Torchwood. But it has some really nice, like, character building moments for seeing them as a team as well.
It's the first time we've seen Yanto want anything as well. I think I mentioned this last episode, that originally this was meant to be much later in the series. So you'd have gone through most of the series and Yanto's just this background.
Oh, yeah.
The least important member of the team. And now we find out his secret.
It's a shame as well, because it would have hit even harder.
It is.
Like, yeah.
But I was doing the maths on it and I realised, actually, I think Yanto in episode 8 can't happen without this episode coming earlier in the run. His relationship with Jack is absolutely like a sequel to this episode. So actually, I think it ends up for the best, because it means you get to develop Yanto that much sooner.
Like, this is relevant to both episode 6 and episode 7, because Lisa is mentioned in both of those, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, these were made roughly in order, and the attitude towards making it was, which scripts are finished.
Okay.
So, like, this wasn't moved forward, for any reason other than the other scripts hadn't been written. So, yeah, so it's...
Maybe that was the same with the costume then. Maybe she wasn't meant to be sexy. Maybe they just hadn't finished it.
Yeah. I think there is a version of this where you strike a different tone and maybe it works, but the problem is a sexy Cyberwoman is fundamentally hilarious and really stupid as an
absolutely.
idea. But Yanto's girlfriend, it's horrific what actually happens to Lisa.
It's so sad. Yeah.
This woman is so important to Yanto. This is his girlfriend. This is someone who means a lot to him. So that's like a real emotional story. But she is dressed clearly to titillate the viewer and to look sexy. Do you know what? Like, it's hard to know what kind of female character am I looking at here. Is this meant to be like, am I meant to be getting horny because of this episode? Or am I meant to feel the emotion?
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's something Doctor Who does quite well a lot of the time, is very stupid visual, heartbreaking emotion. But, like, Doctor Who is kind of famous in the modern era for having tone meetings where everyone decides as a group, right, what's the vision, what are we going for? Usually the showrunner comes up with a key word or phrase that's like, that's the tone we're going for.
Sure.
So the episode Blink of Doctor Who, for instance, it's the famous episode with the Weeping Angel statues. The tone word for that was haunted house.
Sure.
And once you know that, you kind of go, oh, okay, yeah, because even though it's not really a haunted house story, it's a useful kind of tone word. And I think here, again, we know this show was made in such a rush, and there wasn't much of a gap between writing a script and getting it made. So I suspect there can't have been that many meetings on exactly what the robot should look like. Because it's one thing to be like, you're playing a sexy killer robot. Cool, we all know what a sexy killer robot looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like this.
No.
A sexy killer robot, you're imagining someone really powerful. So like, give her heels, make her look like she could kill you with a snap of her finger. But they've also gone, no, like let's expose flesh in a very kind of...
Yeah. Because
lads mags kind of way.
Yeah, because it's like you probably envision a sort of like supervillain where, yes, okay, her armor has shaped breastplates, but there is a sense of like power and autonomy and stuff to her. But with this, I just don't get it.
I think it's the pants.
It's the pants, right? It's the pants, or it's the little circle around her tummy button that does it for me.
Yeah, because the breastplates are completely stupid. They don't make any logical sense. But whatever, it's Doctor Who, it's sci-fi, it's Torchwood, it's stupid. But the pants, she just looks like she's in pants. They don't even look like bikini bottoms. I find it impossible to look at those pants. I kind of can't look at those pants. I feel I'm doing something obscene.
Would it have been better if it was a thong?
It's one of the few things that would be worse. If she was in a cyber thong.
Shall we begin with our chronological... Shall we start the episode, Steph?
Let's do it. Let's go beat for beat.
So, we start with one of my favourite bits, which is the basketball game between them, which is an example of what I meant about how, because it's focused on character, we get that character's perception of the team, and you tend to get much cuter interactions between them of just like a normal, quite domestic, really.
Yeah.
The team are playing basketball, and the loser will have to buy the first round at the pub. One of my favourite things about this scene is that the Torchwood basketball hoop is branded. Why is it branded?
It's so weird. So there's one moment I like in it which is that so Owen wins the game by dropping the ball up from above. Like, he climbs above the hoop.
Yeah.
Because it's the Torchwood base, it's all on levels, and he drops the ball in. And I really liked that, the idea that even a game of basketball for these people is sort of stupid and anarchic, doesn't really follow any rules.
Yeah, they can't even get that right.
And then, just like every instance of a Torchwood team breaking the rules, they then have a conversation about it where Owen is told off, but nothing actually happens. There's no actual consequences.
So Jack still has to buy the first round, and that's just how it works. So good look at them as a team. I really like that. I like when we get to see them socialising. They're off to the pub, and then Jack very rudely throws the ball into Yanto with no consideration for him, because he's apparently just got to clear up and stay there, which must be happening a lot. He's never invited to the pub. What a bunch of twats.
So the work is being done here. It would be nice if we'd had more episodes of it. But, yeah, Yanto is the forgotten member of the... He's not really a member of the team. He's sort of He's the hanger-on. He's the one who tidies up the base when everyone's gone.
Yeah.
You're taking a member of your team entirely for granted, that he's not even... There's only 5 members of the team, and one of them is... 20% of your team is not invited to the pub for a social.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, having them leave and Jack not even look Yanto in the eye as he throws the basketball to him. Well, at him. But when Yanto's on the phone ordering the pizza, already there's like a flirty tone of him just talking about Jack. He says... He's ordering a pizza and he says, and a side of coleslaw. My boss says I'm not eating enough vegetables, which is funny because coleslaw is not the good solution to not eating enough vegetables.
Yeah, I really
But also
like that,
because, like, that's giving us the context for conversations we haven't seen, where there is an element of flirtiness, more like, and he looks good in a suit. But it's just interesting seeing, like, within the same minute, you see Jack treat him like nothing, and then also that they have this relationship.
Yeah, that's a question I want to ask our listeners or viewers, actually, I think, is like, what do they think the Yanto-Jack relationship is like at this point? Do they think that there is some kind of blossoming thing?
Mm-hmm.
I know that later on, a lot of people really ship Yanto and Jack. But do they at this point? I don't know. I don't know if there's that much there. There's a couple of lines, as you say, but there's not.
Yeah, especially because the and he looks good in a suit line, like, there's no more than Jack said about literally everyone else at this point. So,
I want to quickly point out that Jack has never seen rugby. I've made a point of that. I don't know if I have anything more to say than that, other than, like, there's a quality, and I know that there are some people annoyed by it, but I really love it, where, like, Chibnall scripts almost always have these lines that are, like, just very normal conversation, but there's also, like, there's always a second purpose to the line, and it's always completely obvious what it is, and here it's, let's remind everyone that we're in Wales.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a live rugby match, Steph?
I don't know that I have. No, I haven't.
I definitely haven't.
No, I haven't.
It is quite embarrassing,
plenty of,
isn't
like, games in the pubs. That's a really good point.
I want to do that at some point.
Oh, let's do that. That'd be
Me and you, we'll
do
do that as part of our Torchwood research.
Yes.
So the man arrives, right?
Yeah. So this is Mr. Tanizaki, who's an expert on cybernetics, I guess. And Yanto has brought him in. And we realise that, Yanto's been working on this for ages.
Yeah.
And has promised Lisa, look, I'm going to get you better. I'm going to cure you. This is the man that he brings to do that.
Yeah. Is it, so Yanto, when he orders a pizza, he says the usual. Is that for him and the man? Or is that just for him afterwards?
I assumed so. Actually, I was going to say the pizza takes ages to arrive. Actually, it probably doesn't. I think this episode is probably kind of in real time.
It's probably in real
it?
time, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's mad. Yeah, because it always hits me every time at the end. I'm like, what the heck? Why is that? Oh, because it's just been such a long journey.
So Tanizaki goes to examine Lisa. I mean, we've covered the Lisa costume. What we haven't covered is the fact that, like, there's an entire room set up for her to live in, which is just chock-a-block full of Cyberman stuff, including a cyber conversion unit, which is how Cybermen make more Cybermen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Yanto's probably not an expert in the tech, but he's set all this stuff up, including the worst thing you can possibly set up, which is the ability to make more of them.
And it's not like he doesn't know the danger of Cybermen. He can't plead ignorance. The reason she's there is because she was a victim of his the first round of Cybermen that he witnessed, and how they were trying to convert everyone, and she got half converted. And his solution to that problem is, I'll build a cyber conversion unit, or I'll move it from where it was. What an idiot.
Yeah.
That's so dumb.
And why has he done it? And presumably, she needs that. My guess is that it's like her charging dock.
Like a little iPod or print.
So otherwise she'll just completely run out of battery.
She needs a ventilator or something, clearly. Like her vital signs, I guess, like her vital functions are cybernetic at this point. I don't understand why that thing that is clearly a cyber conversion unit is necessary. Because when the little claw thing comes out later, that looks like its only purpose is to continue a conversion. And if Yanto wants to undo the process, I don't understand how that would ever have been necessary.
Yeah. So Tanizaki examines the robot. And I want to know if you noticed what I noticed.
With the fact that he gropes her.
He gropes her.
He gropes her. Not
metal
only...
breast.
Yeah, he strokes her tummy really weirdly, and then he cups a bit of robot boob. It's really inappropriate.
Yeah.
What's going on?
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Like, that, that's a character that... Because if you, as a director, were like, we want to entertain the audience with this sexy killer robot, you could have, like, a shot of the breast if you wanted, but he could just be, like, tapping it like a doctor or something.
Yeah, it's really weird, and I don't know where that went wrong. It's almost like they were filming it, and then they were just like, oh, mate, do you know what would be funny?
Yeah.
Like, there's no need for it whatsoever. But I really like the way that my notes kind of descended into. So I've got soundtrack at reveal, spooky build-up, but she's sexy. She has undies. And then copper cyber feel. There's a lot going on in just this, like, short minute. Also, at this point, right, so after he's copped a feel of her boob, he says that she's about 60-40 converted. And I'm looking at her, and I'm like, sure, Jan, 60-40. Like, that's... What? She's basically human. She's just got a big head, big Cyberman head and Cyberman undies. But I don't know, by that point, he hasn't really done a medical examination to see what elements of her brain are still working, is he?
That's true, actually.
I thought it was a bit of a random conclusion to jump to.
Yeah, I definitely took the line to mean she is 60% Cyberman in the soul, rather than in body. But you're right, he's got no way of knowing that.
Yeah. Quick question about how Yanto's been keeping her down there and how the cyber conversion process happens. Why is she still wearing makeup, Steph?
Yes.
Why has she got perfect eyeliner on and some nice little eyeshadow? Has Yanto been doing that?
Maybe that's part of the 40% humanity she's retained.
Maybe, yeah.
To just perfectly apply that makeup.
Maybe it's like in the little head unit, this little thing comes out and it's like...
Yeah,
he just does it for her.
I think Yanta's doing it. I think he's coming in every
Yanta's
day,
doing it in the night,
making his sexy killer robot girlfriend nice and pretty for him and no one else. Oh, yeah. Do you think it's because they had visitors coming round?
Oh,
Yanta was like, oh, he said wouldn't be caught dead. Without her makeup.
That's what it is. Someone's coming in. He's been getting ready. He's cut her little nails. Put some makeup on for her so that she doesn't feel embarrassed. What a good boyfriend. Yeah, you've cracked it, mate. That's exactly why she's wearing makeup.
Solved it.
Cool, then I revoke my criticism. That's absolutely fine. So, Mr. Tanizaki starts to try to make Lisa able to survive independently of the cybernetic thing. He allows her to breathe on her own. He's trying to kind of isolate each vital function gradually, and she nearly dies. It's fine. We're getting there, but she's very weak, and losing a ventilator suddenly is quite a hit. Meanwhile, the gang are out at the pub having a lovely time, and they just get a little beep boop. Oh, there was a UFO sighting over Cardigan Bay. So they need to nip back. And now Yanto is in a panic to get his weak, newly breathing girlfriend back somewhere secret before the others make it home.
But it's quite nice. I quite like this subplot.
Yeah.
Which is that they're in the pub and suddenly there's like 7 independent UFO sightings and they're like, okay, we've got to go to work. But then they go back and it's just, yeah, it's a genuine UFO, but that's, by Torchwood standards, that's incredibly boring. The aliens aren't here to invade. They're not here to kidnap anyone. They're just flying in, from what Jack says, the UFO equivalent of just a rubbish, cheap car. And they're just going out for a joyride. They just need to be like a weary police officer, really, and go, can you go and fly your
Move
spaceship
along,
elsewhere,
please?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Because again, that's another thing of the character-based episode giving us, because we're following Yanto's character story, this UFO bit is unimportant. But that means they can make it quite lighthearted and cute. And we don't normally get to see Torchwood having really positive interactions with aliens where it's just a funny thing, their everyday job. So I really like throwing stuff like that in because it reminds you that They don't just deal with the shit. They get casual stuff too.
So that was all quite fun. But anyway, obviously the key thing here is that they are heading back to the base, and Yanto has the note I've written is he has to hide his creepy cyber girlfriend.
Yeah, he does.
Okay, shall we talk about the driving rota?
Yeah.
So Tosh is like, I want to go driving the car, and Owen's like, absolutely not. I'm not having that. And Gwen's like, oh, well, maybe there's a middle road. Maybe we'll do a rota. So it's all, like, perfectly normal. And Owen, it's hard not to read it as sexist. That he's like...
Yeah, no, it's absolutely sexist.
Because he doesn't say women can't drive. But he does say, when women drive, I get back into the seat. And then, like, the seat's all wrong and it needs adjusting and whatever.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I do like the line he has, which is like, by the time I've adjusted the seat and everything, aliens will have taken Newport,
yeah.
But again, it does feel like him getting as close as possible to women can't drive without actually saying it.
Exactly.
The note I've got, though, the one thing that's really weird is Jack's reaction. When Gwen suggests the rota, Jack finds the idea laughable. His response is like, I'm sorry, Gwen. Like, we're a secret organisation fighting aliens from an underground base in Cardiff, and you want a driving rota. And I'm watching going like...
Seems reasonable to me.
Why is that weird?
Yeah, like, I think it was Beachy or Lawrence, one of my housemates, pointed out later that it was really funny when they were running away from Lisa that there's a fire exit sign above one of the doors. So, like, that's fine, but a driving rota is where you think it's funny, is it? Like... Yeah. You're still people doing a job. Chill out.
In fact, this might be my first nomination for the most Torchwood moment of the week. I mean, I realise that's a hotly contested category this week. Mm-hmm. But it's the fact that Jack is the boss. He runs a proper team. And when Gwen, who is used to an actual profession from the outside world, is like, I think what we'd normally do at this point is have some sort of rota. Jack's like, oh, you and your modern ideas. A rota.
Yes.
Here.
We can nominate that for the most tortured moment of the week. However, the real heart of the most tortured moment of the week is about how Torchwood repeatedly fail at their job to protect the Earth from alien threats. So I think we've missed a pretty big one here, Steph, to nominate Yanto hiding his cyber girlfriend in the basement.
Yeah, that's probably... That's going to rank quite highly. That's going to take some beating.
I don't know what we've got in here, but it's really... That is a strong contender. I don't know. I highly doubt something is going to surprise me enough that is not going to be our tortured moment of the week.
Yeah. Hiding the killer robot that you're dating in your workplace.
Also, hiding the killer robot that you're dating that destroyed your previous workplace of the same name.
That's true.
In the basement of the new one.
That's really true. The only reason he works for this Torchwood is because the old Torchwood was destroyed by Cybermen.
Yeah.
He knows what they do. Mm-hmm. It's so stupid.
And they wonder why he didn't give him more responsibility.
Yeah.
So the gang are heading back to Torchwood, right? The gang are heading back to the hub. Meanwhile, Yanto is trying to make it look like nothing spooky has ever happened. He didn't have a guest. They weren't looking at a Cyberwoman. And downstairs, Lisa has done the old switcheroo and is about to start converting her first victim. It was just something that we pointed out as she's like put him in the chair, is we're like, right, if he doesn't get converted with a jockstrap, I'm going to be so mad. Because it's only fair. Come on, this is about equality. Just imagining like nothing except a metal jockstrap coming down here.
I want full Cyber Mankini, please.
Oh, absolutely. And we never get to see it, which is a real shame.
We don't, because it fails. So we see her converting him. I mean, the conversion fails drastically. But so Yanto's got to pretend that nothing's going on, that everything's normal when the team arrive back. And here's the note, like, I cannot understand how Yanto has ever kept any of this under wraps, because he has no poker face. Even just 1 second of paying attention to Yanto across all these many months would have been enough, because, like, he is the most anxious-looking man.
Yeah. You probably look at him and his eyes are just, like, shifty like this. They just won't suspect him, so he doesn't even really have to try, right?
Ah, yeah.
That must be it. So, because Lisa has got the cyber conversion unit up downstairs at this point, there's a big power drain, and Jack is like, what's going on? And Yanto, to cover up, is like, shit, man, I'll go check. Just gonna nip downstairs. As he goes downstairs, he passes the little tea station. And I had been wondering where it was. I think that's the only shot we get of the tea station, right at the top of the stairs. And I really liked, I think they had like a blue teapot with little white polka dots on it. And it was just the most, like, the least tortured thing I could think of, that like he's going to see this big cyber conversion unit. There's just this very quaint little teapot sitting on a shelf that I like.
That's amazing. Yeah, they want to get some branded ones.
I was gonna say, yeah, not like that basketball hoop.
I cannot praise the set designers enough.
Oh my god, I know.
The Torchwood set is just, there's always something interesting to look at.
I'm never gonna forgive them for ripping that set down.
We should have all gone to the set and chained ourselves to it.
Yeah, we should have. Or we should have done this sooner and we could have crowdfunded and bought it.
Ah, imagine if we owned the Torchwood Hub.
Imagine if we owned the Torchwood Hub, Steph. Dream big.
So he goes down to visit Lisa. His excuse is that some cables came loose. That's what caused the power drain, which... Yep. Again, because they don't pay attention to Yanta is fine. But if they paid any attention to that at all, they'd be like, hang on. Loose cables should not cause that drastic a surge.
Or maybe they're all still drunk.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they all downed their pints in 10 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. And they've got back, they're like, oh yeah, sure, that makes sense.
He goes down and he sees what she's done and it breaks his heart. He sees that she's killed Tanizaki and tried to convert him and it hasn't worked. So he's got like a handlebar through his head.
He's like, oh God, I've got to hurry. They're going to come looking for me. They're going to wonder what's happened and they're going to find you. And Lisa says, I'll deal with them. And he says, don't you go near them. And even his delivery of that, it's like, I'm jumping back and forth between being like, Yanto, you're a dirty traitor, and, oh, I really sympathize with this man. But his delivery of that line, there's something about it that's so strong and so defensive that I suddenly just see him as this desperate man. Like he's just trying to get the love of his life back, but he really does care about the people he works with. He doesn't want any of this to happen, and there's something about the delivery of that really sells it to me. Again, it's his acting that carries it as we're looking at this bizarre sexy robot. Gareth David Lloyd sells us the sexy robot.
There's a bit that is weird in it though, which is that when Yanto sees what she's done, he gets quite physical with her.
Oh, and he pushes her away. Yeah
And it struck me as really strange because, like, I don't know, I mean, maybe I'm making things too real, but my feeling is when I'm at my very angriest, I don't get physical because that's not in me. So, like, when I see someone get physical when they're angry, okay, I get that they're angry and that is why they've tipped over. But I'm also like if you're not the type to push your girlfriend, you don't push your girlfriend, even if she's just murdered someone. Because that's...
Yeah, I think with that one, it's probably, like, maybe a direction issue. Because you're right, it's a bit weird that, like, the last he saw her before she had murdered this man, she was weak, she could barely breathe on her own, and he was being really gentle with her. So it is a bit of a switch to suddenly be quite aggressive with her. But yeah, I did notice the shove, but in my head I was just like, I don't think that was in the script. I think this is fine.
Yeah, you can disregard it.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? The countless ways we have of disregarding something we don't like in a character.
Yeah.
That wasn't in the script. That was just weirdly directed.
Torchwood is a marathon, not a sprint, okay?
Yeah, if we accept that every single second of footage that we are seeing here is a true reflection of what these characters are.
Of the ethos of the show. It's a marathon with several different heights of hurdles all along the track. Okay, so again, he's still trying to explain this away. He's like, you didn't mean to do this. Someone went wrong. This isn't you. And he's panicking. He's like, you stay down here. I've got to get rid of the body. And then I think it's in defense of the team. He's like, don't you go near them. If you hurt anyone else, I'll... And she's like, what will you do? And he's implying I would kill you. So again, it's pulling us back from like, I'm like, Yanto, you're an idiot. Why are you hiding a sexy cyber woman in the basement? But he does understand the severity of the situation. He's just blinded by love, I guess. So Yanto starts disposing of the body. I, at this point, was like, again, why is there a cyber conversion unit there? Why hasn't she just got like a little bed? Don't understand that, but fine. Or maybe that's what a comfy bed is for a sexy cyber woman. I don't want to judge, you know? We get the brief scene we got the UFO explained away with the liquid aliens. And then while he's disposing of the body, the power hasn't come back on yet. And Jack's like, Yanto, where are you? I can't hear you. Power briefly comes on. Yeah. They get a scan of 2 life forms down there. And Tasha's like, assuming one's Yanto, who's the other? That means we've had, someone's broken in, we've had an invasion. I really like, Tosh says, but that's impossible. No one could get in there without triggering 7 different alarms. And I'm like, right, okay, 7 is a high number, but I don't know if that's enough. 7 for your massive underground alien base.
I bet the average workplace has more than 7 alarms.
Yeah, definitely.
7 different alarm systems, I would understand. If there's like one of those systems is just normal alarms, and that's just level 1, and there's like 30 of them. But it's not what she says, is it? She is like, we've got 7 different alarms.
Yeah,
all branded, all with nice Torchwood tea on them.
I'm just imagining it like it's not even 7 different alarms in any kind of system way. It's just sounds. Like it's one alarm when someone breaks in, but there are 7 noises that go off in different ways.
Yeah, no one can possibly get into this base without triggering our 1 alarm, which will be really noisy and annoying.
No one can possibly have broken into the base because the singing Billy Bass on the wall isn't singing his song. I did like also, actually, in response to that Jack says, it's a little foreshadowing, even though we know that it's a Cyberman. His response to that is, well, it looks like our system needs to be upgraded. And I was like, heyo, that's clever. I like what you did there.
Nice.
So Jack sends Gwen and Owen down, and he says, if there's any doubt, shoot first. I'm like, whoa now. Like, we have no evidence this is a threat. You've said there's 2 life signs. So that assumes that Ianto is still alive. And from your perspective, maybe someone just popped in for a visit, you know?
Do you know what?
I just thought that was a bit much.
He is the most likely explanation for why there's 2 life signs down there. That Yanto's hiding a romantic partner down there. That is actually the most likely.
Oh, yeah. They all went out. Yanto is just having a nice time, getting a thrill of having sex at work.
And he's not meant to, so he's keeping it secret. But he's been a bit shifty, and he's like, oh, I'll go back and check on the thing. They know they have come back unexpectedly early. When they see 2 life signs and no alarms have gone off, your assumption is, well, someone's let this person in.
Don't forget, though, there is a massive power drain thing happening in the basement. And I don't know what kind of sex dungeon Yanto would have to drain that colossal amount of power, but I do sympathise with them a little bit more than that.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Yeah.
Sorry, I did really like, right, when Gwen and Owen are cut off from the communication and they head in, this is just as Owen sees the cyber conversion unit. He's like, oh, it shouldn't exist, and explains to Gwen what it is. And he's like, what's it doing in our bloody basement? I really like that as a summary for the turmoil that they're now in. Yeah. Instead of being like, how on earth is it here? It's like, what's it doing in our bloody basement? Like, oh, what's going on over here? Someone snuck a bloody cyber conversion unit into our basement.
That's true, actually. And it's weird because often TV and film these days, like, if you have a Welsh character at all, usually what the Welsh character provides is a certain earthiness, a certain kind of tells it how it is. It's Nessa in Gavin and Stacey. While everyone else is talking in sort of serious tones, you've got the Welsh person to go, oh, I don't know, all these bloody aliens coming over here.
Yeah.
And that's what the Welsh person is for. So it's quite funny to see Torchwood do the opposite and have its one English cast member.
Yeah.
What's it doing in our bloody... I don't care where these Cybermen's come from. He's not allowed to be in my garage. Great.
I just love the idea that he'd be like, more importantly, what's it doing in our bloody basement? And then, like, it just zooms in on Yanto and he's like, do-do-do-do. Oh, Yanto.
Oh, you could so easily edit existing Torchwood material to just make it a bit sitcom-y, a bit more
I'm going to
of
do
a
that.
farce.
So, they see that someone has deleted the CCTV earlier, and they see Yanto bringing in a stranger. So they're now a little bit suspicious. Gwen and Owen at this point get back on comms, and they say, I have found part of a cyber conversion unit fully powered up and working. One thing that I really liked is that Gwen shouts, Jack, we have a code 0, which means someone's given her a bloody handbook.
Yeah.
She's got it. She's read all the code. She knows what's going on. They finally trained her. I was very excited to see that had happened.
Yeah. There's a lot of that in this, actually. There's a lot of incidental... Jack will say, okay, formation XYZ or whatever. And suddenly everyone's jumping to attention. So that's a good point.
Yeah. Maybe they've been listening to the podcast stuff. Maybe they were embarrassed. And they were like, let's sort ourselves out.
Oh my God, we really should give her some training.
Yeah.
All right. I've made a note that what Jack says when he first sees Lisa.
You're a woman.
You're a woman. Not like, you're a Cyberman, which is much more unusual.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, his reaction shouldn't be, you're a woman. His reaction should be, why do you look like that? Why have they given you...
Yeah.
Why are you in pants?
Why are you in pants?
Imagine, right, okay, this episode, but the only difference is that when Jack first sees Lisa, he goes, why are you in pants? Otherwise identical.
Yeah. Okay. At this point, right, Gwen got put in the cyber converter, right?
Yeah. They need to cut the power to the base so that the cyber conversion unit doesn't work. But that will cause the base to go into lockdown.
Yeah.
And the note I've made is that nobody accepts any orders from Jack without serious doubt. Like, he tells Tosh to do something and she's like, oh, but, you know, like they all cheek back whatever order he gives.
Yeah. I guess it's because, like, prior to this, Torchwood have only really seen small local or Earth threats. He hasn't trained his team for this. They're not ready for this. They do not understand the severity of the situation. From their experiences of aliens so far, what he's saying is quite extreme.
Yeah.
Because they'd go through a lot more explanations first and they'd find out what's going on. They'd work as a team. They'd catch the alien in a net and then they'd go home. But this is like... He goes from 0 to 100 straight away. He's like, kill this thing, get it done. And they're like, whoa there, because they don't understand.
It's so funny, isn't it? Because it's so weird thinking that Jack was in the military.
I know.
Because sometimes he has this aesthetic of being like a military captain, because he is instructing them to do quite big things. And he's like, don't question my orders, just do it. But you're like, you know, the reason that works when you're in the military is because you receive military training. Mm-hmm. Whereas these people have not. Clearly. Yeah.
Although he built Torchwood back up in the Doctor's image to be less military and to be more personable. I guess this is just...
and messy and chaotic.
Yeah, this is just it, like, biting him in the ass. It's just like, well, I ballsed up, guys. Because at this point, right, it's a bit of a blur. They escape her from the cyber converter, and clearly, meanwhile, Owen passed out, and I just didn't notice that happen.
I don't remember.
So yeah, they get up to the top. They're holding a gun to Yanto's head. And we find out why Yanto's been doing this. He's like, that's my girlfriend. I love her. I clean up your shit and you don't care about me.
Yeah.
How clear is it that he has been hiding her at this point? Because it's not until he's at gunpoint that that's actually revealed that it's his girlfriend.
That's true, yeah.
So from this point, maybe they think Yanto went down there first. And in the 3 minutes before everyone else came down there, he's just really got on with her.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, actually, lads, she's got some really compelling ideas.
Yeah. She had an idea about a new design of teapot we could use.
Yeah.
And I just think we could use some fresh ideas around this place.
Yeah. She was going to install a little Nespresso machine in my hand. So you'd be like, oh, Yanto, I want a coffee. And I'd be like, I really think we should give her a chance.
So they ask Yanto, why didn't you tell us you were doing this? And he said, because Torchwood destroys alien threats. You would not have tolerated her to live. And that is probably true, I think.
Yeah.
So we're up to the point where Jack is now trying to get his team in order. We need to take out this sexy killer robot. So now it's Torchwood against a Cyberwoman. She is going to start marching her way up. She is going to try and get outside. She has to be stopped. 4 of the members of Torchwood are absolutely on the same page. Yes, she needs to be stopped, and we do whatever it takes. Yanto isn't on the same page. He's like, no, don't kill her. You have to save her. Don't leave her alone.
Yeah.
Now, my feeling is, he is now a liability. You know that he's not on the same page as you. He is massively emotionally wrapped up in this. At this point, you need to lock Yanto up.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'd say. So yeah, Lisa makes it to the top of the hub. So she's on not the ground floor. She's on the same floor as them. She says that she wants to use the hub as the base to convert the whole world into Cybermen. And Jack's like, well, it looks like your conversion actually didn't go that well, mate. So suck on that. And Lisa looks in a mirror and is like, I'm disgusting. Why do I not look like a Cyberman?
Yeah. So she's freaked out by still having fleshy bits, which is interesting because Cybermen shouldn't have emotions. They shouldn't have emotional reactions, right?
Yeah.
So she shouldn't have a concept of looking disgusting. But then maybe that's another part.
Because there's a clear difference between her when she wakes up and she's like, Yanto, why am I not connected to the machine? Oh, this is great. Everything's going good. And then when she switches back into cyber mode, she should be mentally full Cyberman. But yeah, like disgust is an emotion, definitely. That's not a like, I am incomplete, I need to fix this problem. That's a ugh.
Yeah, but I'm happy to go with it, actually. I mean, if she genuinely is 60-40 Cyberman human, then yeah, maybe she's never fully human and never fully Cyberman.
Sure.
So up until this point, I've really enjoyed how they've used the base from the basketball scene onwards. You know, they use it really well. That you've got this basement, as Owen puts it. You've got them when they run away from Lisa. You know, they get to higher ground very quickly. They get to that little room up top. So far, they've done quite good chase sequences. I think it kind of falls apart a little bit here because you're trying to convey a killer robot who's running at, you know, who will never stop chasing you.
Yeah, so she's not going to move fast.
Yeah.
So the urgency has to come from being trapped instead of being chased, I guess.
Yeah.
Something we don't get in Torchwood very much is an explanation of the plan. But I like in this one that Jack's like, okay, we're stuck in lockdown, but Tosh, here's this thing. Susie said it could open any door in like 30 seconds or something. And he's like, when you get there, take out this wire, do this, and you should be able to. I like that we got like a structured plan.
Yeah.
Tosh is trying to get out of the hub. Meanwhile, the gang are trying to hide and keep Lisa busy so she can't make it out, I guess is the plan. Jack goes to threaten Lisa and she electrocutes him and he dies. At this point, pretty much no one but Gwen knows that Jack can't die. So when he is revived, Owen's like, how did he survive that? And it's like, well, if only you knew. Tosh, though, right? So I do really like when Tosh goes through that door. That's a good tense moment as Lisa's getting closer and she's like pushing that heavy door. That terrifies me every time. That's really good tension. So she finally gets the big heavy door closed. And just as she closes it, Lisa just like punches through that little circle of glass. My question is, in this huge underground hub, why is that glass not reinforced? Why is it just like a tiny bit of glass? Like, oh, let me just get this arm-shaped glass hole that someone can shove a gun through this massive reinforced door. That won't be a problem. That was stupid.
Because I assumed it was reinforced and it's just that she's got Cyberman strength.
Really strong, maybe, yeah.
But, yeah, that's not what it doesn't look that way.
It doesn't, does it? This was the point where my housemate pointed out the fire exit signs and I just had this whole thing. I love the idea of having like a health and safety inspection. Because they don't conform to any other health and safety standards. Like the lift is dangerous. We've been through that. There's no other reason it would be there other than they've been made to do it. Because yes, in an emergency, they might need to be illuminated to their nearest exit. But I'm sure they've got lights that provide that, where you don't need a green sign that physically says fire exit. So I like to imagine that they had like a proper like health inspection. And like the tea table has to be assessed and they've got one of those little food hygiene ratings in the corner. All of this domestic stuff, throw it right in. I love it.
It's a weird kind of mix of aesthetics in the Torchwood hub where like, and again, it's amazing design because you've just got these very sort of modern, banal signs coexisting side by side with, you know, things that are supposedly like legacy things, like, old signs from the Victorian era that they've never replaced.
Yeah.
I also like that, like, you've got the Torchwood base, which is a very eccentric space, going into this, like, quite normal, like, relatively modern kind of corridor with a fire exit sign. And that takes you out. That takes you through a corridor that films on location in a castle. So that's all, like, big brickwork and stuff. And then it leads you out into the reception, which just looks like a little seaside... like shop. It's great.
Maybe the fire exit signs go up to the point that a pizza delivery person would feasibly be allowed up to. And so like, because there's members of the public coming in, like they need public liability insurance for those areas and they need to conform to health and safety standards for those areas only because they keep ordering pizza and letting people into the building. Yeah,
you're not meant to come through the big metal giant gear shaped door. Once you're in there, or you're in real trouble. So let's hope no pizza delivery person makes it past that door in this episode.
Oh, fingers crossed. So at this point, Owen and Gwen are like, so they head to the autopsy room because they think that they can use some tools there to defeat her. I don't really know why. She's pretty indestructible from their perspective so far.
There's bits of it that don't work for me, but and the autopsy draw obviously is quite stupid. But that's the idea, is they've been cornered in the little surgery area. And Owen realizes this is the only place we have to hide, basically, is I'll get in the drawer, you get on top of me. Gwen's like, oh, I'm not going to get on top of you. He's like, look, I'm not saying it's
Also, surely they could hide in their own ones. I'll get in one drawer, you get in the other.
Yeah, that's true. It's a bit weird. But that's what they do. They get in the drawer, Gwen on top of Owen, and once they're in the drawer, he kisses her.
Yeah. Also, when they kiss, so Yanto got... Did he get knocked out by Lisa? So people keep getting knocked out, and I keep missing it.
Yeah, people are just weirdly unconscious a lot in this episode.
Yeah, just dropping like flies. Yanto's unconscious. Jack runs to him. And why does he kiss him, Steph?
Yeah! I'm interpreting that as, like, mouth to mouth.
Yeah, but it doesn't logically make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't look like he's blowing any air into his lungs to me.
No.
I don't understand what it's for.
It can't be a kiss. That's just my logic brain. It makes so little sense that it cannot be a kiss.
Yeah, it must be Jack imparting some energy or something.
Yeah,
it's some kind of kiss of life. It'll be some bullshit like that.
We're in the genre of kiss of life, and also because that's another thing. Is like visually the director is drawing a link between Owen and Gwen and Yanto and Jack. Which,
we got a kiss of death and a kiss of life.
Yeah, because like Owen later refers to it as like, oh, that was like a last kiss for the condemned man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all very grotty, but I don't think I can accept that Jack was like, oh, well, I'll just kiss this guy.
While we're here, yeah. So at this point, that's when Reese gives a cute little call to be like, oh yeah, it's the man of your dreams. So can you video wife swap? I just want to... Right, you mentioned before when she took her phone call in front of Karis in episode 2, why is she taking personal calls at work? And I'm just thinking, if someone had like enforced that a bit more, if Jack had been like, hey Gwen, could you please refrain from taking calls from your husband in the middle of your workday for your secret alien fighting organization job? Her phone wouldn't have been on loud. And they would have just survived. They'd just still be making out in the autopsy drawer right now, to this day. Yeah, and, that's why you should enforce these things early. Don't wait until it's a life or death situation.
Yeah. It's a weird scene, this. I'd actually completely forgotten this scene. The Reese scene is amazing. Like... Because he's only in one scene, but it's such a memorable scene, him on his night out. What he says is, can you video wife swap? Which is such a funny show for Reese to be like, I don't want to miss that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also funny that Torchwood, which like I still think of as like quite a modern show, this is dated incredibally badly because this episode is from 2006. iPlayer launched in 2007, I believe. So like... It's literally like this is almost the latest you could possibly have a contemporary piece of television have someone ask someone to video something for them.
And also, she's been working for Torchwood a little while now. You would have thought, right, first big paycheck you get, I'm going to get like Sky. That's what I'd do. And maybe he's just using video to mean record on Sky.
Yeah, that's quite cute.
Yeah, I just think she works for Torchwood. She's got a lot of money. Where's her Sky TV?
Yeah, I think they probably do have it, but Reese is a bit old-fashioned, so he still says video.
Okay, we'll go with that.
I'd completely forgotten, by the way, that Owen and Gwen kiss in this.
Yeah.
Because episode 6 has stuff about Gwen and Owen kind of hooking up.
Yeah.
I thought that was the start of it. I hadn't realised... I knew that they'd started seeding it in with flirting, but to full-on kiss in this, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It actually, you're right, it comes in much more organically than I remembered. Because when I look back on it, I just think of it as like, oh, sure, yeah, okay, of course, yeah, they would get together, fine. But actually, going from the way that he treated her at the start to then a bit of back and forth, like, banter, to this, where it was not planned, it's not developed naturally, but they were put in an intense situation and it just happened. Then it does kind of feel a bit more natural that they might end up sleeping together. So I do think it's odd, but it fits well for their story, I think.
Yeah, I think what's difficult about it is that it's incredibly unpleasant, I think, this relationship. It's clearly unhealthy for her. Owen, I mean, he doesn't seem well in himself. Like he's clearly got like just a very weird outlook on life. He's not in a good place.
And it makes me sad that Gwen keeps cheating on Reese. Like that's the overriding emotion I have for anything to do with Owen is, why would you take away Gwen and Reese's lovely relationship? Like, I have a lot of issues with it as a storyline, but I also do think it was slightly more natural than I remembered. It's not that I'm happy about it, just to clarify.
Yeah, I think our memory of it is that it's sort of abrupt and nothing. I think it's because it's unwelcome. And I think when you first watch it, you're trying to explain it away because you don't want it to be the case. You don't want Gwen to cheat on Reese. It's just, the word I keep coming back to is grotty. It just feels it's the least sexy affair I've ever seen on television. You know, it's very hard, you know, because like usually if there's an affair storyline on TV, there is something a bit glamorous and furtive about it.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean, you know, even a soap opera, soap operas are usually very judgmental and will show the consequences of an affair. But while the affair's happening, it kind of gets glamorized and glorified. Whereas this, I don't think anyone wants to be in that relationship. I don't think anyone. No. I don't think I've met someone who ships Gwen and Owen particularly.
Although I guess like I kind of respect that in a way then, because clearly it was done because they thought it was realistic character-wise, instead of it being like, it's inevitable. She's a woman and he's a man.
Yeah.
And then when we do find out later that like, she's like, I can't share this stuff with anyone. I'm finding it really overwhelming. It was just a desperate attempt to share it with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I hate it. Yeah. But I respect it more on a rewatch than I did previously.
Yeah, I think that's probably where I'm at. I think I really mourn the loss of a version of this show that had longer to get the script in order. Because I feel like there's a lot of promise there and it doesn't quite get there because they are filming very early drafts of these scripts. Imagine a version of this that is written with as much time and care and craft as something like Queer as Folk. You know, Queer as Folk is full of very weird, strange, messy character dynamics and it nails every single one of them and it's just great.
Yeah.
But that's obviously, you know, it's a passion project which is given the time and effort that it needs. It's not a lack of talent on the part of the team making this show. It's clearly a lack of time. You know, we know what Torchwood looks like when it has the time and care and attention it needs, and it looks like series 3.
Yeah. Or even series 2 though. Like the dialogue in series 2, the characters are so much better defined than they are in series 1.
And actually, even in series 1, there are standalone episodes that are absolutely superb, but you're left with it's the overarching stuff that kind of falls apart, I think, because there's not the time to coordinate it properly. So the Gwen Owen thing, it just never quite works for me.
Yeah, me neither. And the fact that we never get any like payoff, there's no reveal. It's done, it's retconned, and then we move on. That always bothers me.
Yeah. And also I've made the note that what happens when she asks what was that kiss all about? Owen was like, oh, it's not like I fancy you. So he's so gross. He's also
pathetically childish. For a man who clearly sees himself as this like player.
Yeah.
And he goes out and gets girls every weekend. Like he's like, well, don't even fancy you, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Which you don't need to do when you've both just had a mutually consensual hot kiss as far as you're both concerned. Like we're past that, surely.
Yeah.
So Lisa's patrolling around. Gwen's phone goes off. Obviously, that triggers Lisa to be like, oh, they're in the drawer. She goes to open it. Does Jack distract them or does Yanto distract them? Someone is up and about, distracts Lisa, and then they're able to get out. And I think Lisa gets shot. Is that what happens?
Yeah.
We clearly, neither of us, Steph, have any concern for actually what happens to Lisa in this episode.
No.
We're all just like, some in and then, I don't know, there's a kiss and then like, but she's wandering around and we don't care where she is.
Yeah. And this is what I meant earlier by like, they use the space really well in the first half of this episode, you know, with the levels and blah, blah, blah. And then and I don't know what goes wrong in the second half, but even though sometimes I'm critical of it, I do enjoy all of the character beats and stuff that happen. Like, I don't like that Gwen and Owen kiss, but I'm engrossed when I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the tension's gone with Lisa, weirdly. Like, I don't really care where she is. And I don't know why. I mean, hiding in the autopsy drawer, like, that's good. Like, oh, hide until, oh, God, the phone's going off. That's tense. But once that tension's gone, I'm like, I'm not bothered where she's off now.
Yeah.
Like, I want to
Because she's not threatening enough, because she's too sexy.
She's too sexy, she's not threatening enough. Also, I think there's a problem that who's the protagonist here? It sort of changes. So in the autopsy draw, we're like, oh, we're with Gwen and Owen. They're the ones trying to get away.
Mm-hmm.
When Lisa goes, we're not paying attention to Tosh anymore because she's off doing her own thing. But also, we don't really care about Yanto and Jack anymore, even though those are arguably the main characters of this episode. The work's been done to zoom in on Owen and Gwen right now, so that's the headspace I'm in. So the actual mechanics of where does she go, in what order, who's she menacing now,
doesn't matter.
No idea. Doesn't stay with me.
The only thing we really need to know, the only important information, is that they shoot her, or Jack does something, and then Yanto's like, she's been hurt, and they're like, sorry mate, it was kill or be killed. Jack runs in to shield them. He's got a blowtorch. He's also holding someone else. We're about to find out what.
And so I've written a sentence here, and I'm just going to read it as written.
Okay.
And I want to enjoy the fact that this is a sentence that exists.
Yep. Jack
covers the sexy killer robot in barbecue sauce so she gets eaten by a pterodactyl. That is how this episode resolves at this point.
I always forget as well. On the rare occasions I watch this episode, I'm like, oh God, how do they get rid of her? And then I'm like, yeah, pterodactyl. How do they get to pterodactyl? Oh yeah, barbecue sauce. My mistake. This was also like Aaron was still cooking at this point as this episode was happening, and I was having to fill him in. And you know when you're saying something, you're like, what's going on? Why am I saying this sentence? Every word in the sentence makes it weirder.
Yeah. You know, we are reminded of the pterodactyl because it gets involved in the basketball game. It slightly gets in the way while they're...
It does, yeah.
That's the setup. So if you tuned in late, if you switched over, even just 2 minutes late, and this is the first time you've ever seen this episode, it is completely out of the blue.
Can you imagine, tuning into episode 4 of a new sci-fi series? And... with no explanation, a pterodactyl just comes in.
And also, I think that will have happened because I bet there were people who were like not really into the idea of a Doctor Who spin-off, but they're doing a Cyberman episode. Oh, I do like the Cyberman, you know.
Sure,
Very popular Doctor Who monster. I'll check that out. So this is your introduction to the show.
And also, like, at the beginning when they're playing basketball, before the title sequence, is when you're making a cup of tea.
Yeah. Oh, I want to meet the person whose introduction to the pterodactyl was when it ate the Cyberwoman.
Probably Charlie Brooker.
Yes.
It's just his luck. Also, when Jack's holding the blowtorch, Yanto is like, give her a chance to surrender. And I'm like, Yanto, I understand that you are like, you have a loyalty here. We are far beyond surrendering. She has killed a man. She's tried to kill 3 more people. She's killed Jack, actually, so she's killed 2 people.
Yeah.
And, like, you're just like, wait, oh, no, just give her one more chance. No, I meant this one. Just give her one more chance. We're like, no! Yeah, so sauce is put on her. They go up on the lift. Pterodactyl attacks her. As we go up in the lift, Lisa just punches the pterodactyl in the face.
Yeah, that's
just
funny.
Like square in the face. It was a bit cruel to the pterodactyl, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Jack's just using this pterodactyl as a tool in his own plan.
Yeah.
Now he's been punched by a sexy robot.
There's no such thing as bad pets, just bad owners.
Yes.
So, meanwhile, Tosh has just completed the task that Jack set for her, and which was apparently to get some lightsabers. Do you see what they look like? She like plugs this thing, she does summon, and this lightsaber just lights up, and I'm like, I know it's probably just the power's back online, or this is a power storage unit or something, but it was suspiciously like a lightsaber, and I didn't remember that happening. So yeah, they get to the top on the really slow lift, rising up. They're at the top, at which point Tosh has completed her little mission. And she runs up like, guys, I did it! Everything's great! It's all going really well! With no idea about the emotional turmoil that everyone's been through on their side of the mission. Yanto punches Jack in the face. And then he says, I quite like this line. It's like a parallel link to Doctor Who. Where he's like, you're worse than anything we've got locked up down there. Which is, you know, a repeated line that is thrown at the Doctor. That like, you're the worst monster of all. Yeah. Which I quite like. Because we're seeing Jack kind of assimilate into the role of the Doctor-style leader.
Yeah.
After he says that, Yanto says, one day I'll have the chance to save you and I'll watch you suffer and die.
Yeah.
And it's really dark. Like it's whoa, intense.
It's a weird line, because I remember that line when I first watched this show. I was like, it's got foreshadowing written all over it, which I mean doesn't come. It wasn't foreshadowing in series one, but it does. It casts a long shadow. It's a very memorable line, that, and again, like the delivery of it. There's so much intensity in the performance here. I really like it.
Yeah. So at this point, we now see the pizza that Yanto ordered at the start of the episode. This poor pizza girl has gone to deliver it. The note I have here is, stop ordering pizza.
Yeah.
Like,
it's never gone well.
It's been nothing but trouble so far. For reasons I don't understand, the door opens for her to go in to deliver the pizza.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's supposed to happen.
No. Shouldn't be automatic.
She just walks in. Bloody hell, this is a bigger building than I thought it was, isn't it?
Yeah, I wonder what the idea is there. Because, like, I mean, she should at least trigger one of the 7 alarms, you'd have thought.
Yeah, she should.
So is the idea here that Lisa has done something to allow her to get in?
Well, actually, at the top, Tosh runs up to them and she's like, I did it, it worked. We can get back in. So Yanto hears that and runs back to get back in.
Right.
So maybe Tosh was like, mates, I've sorted it out. The doors are all about to open. But I don't know why that was a thing that was going to happen.
So what happens is the pizza girl arrives and Lisa kills her in order to put her own brain into this human body. So she realizes that the problem she has to overcome is that she's a Cyberwoman and that's not okay. And she solves this program by just killing an innocent woman and putting her own brain in that body. It's proper horror movie horrible.
Yeah. It's really sad.
And when we next see the pizza girl, you know, she's got a big scar across her forehead like Frankenstein, where she's had this brain transplant. I think it's more upsetting than what happens to Tanizaki, because, like, he's an expert in Cybermen. He was putting himself into a dangerous position.
Yeah, exactly. He signed up for that role.
Yeah.
She's just trying to deliver a pizza.
Yeah. And I also think the fact that she's Welsh and the fact that she's just doing, like, this, you know, very, like, minimum wage job in Cardiff.
Yeah.
It's
really sad, isn't it? And the sad thing is as well, he obviously knows her personally, because she goes in, she's like, Yanto?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? So this regular pizza delivery that he gets, she obviously is there every time. This is a regular shift. She's not just a random person. She's someone who knows and kind of trusts him and has been... That's the extra level of sad to this. She's not like a random civilian. There's a personal level there that he's going to cause this death to this person he obviously has a relationship with. But so far the team don't know that Lisa has done that, right? They're about to discover it, because Jack is like, you need to figure out where your loyalties lie, and he sends Yanto in with the instruction that he has to kill her.
Yeah.
This is the moment where Gwen does stand up. Tosh says you can't make him do that. Gwen says you can't make him do that. But Jack he's gone at this point. He's like, I'm fed up of you lot. Don't understand this situation. I'm pissed off. I'm making him do this because I'm done.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he's had enough. He's recognized the lack of training and preparation, and I'm just taking control of the situation.
It is a stupid decision that he makes.
It is, yeah.
You talked earlier about how he makes weird choices of who he picks for which mission. This is the stupidest decision. There are 5 of them, including him. That is 5 different people who could go and try and kill a sexy killer robot.
Yeah.
And does he choose himself, who is immune to death? Does he choose Owen and Tosh, established long-term members of the team? Does he pick Gwen, who's a police officer and who has a degree of training? No, he picks the coffee boy, who is in love with the sexy killer robot.
Yeah, but also I kind of like it in a way, because the whole point of Torchwood is that the human side of Doctor Who, the human side in like a negative way. We've just had the comparison of, you're the biggest monster of all, you're worse than anything locked up down there.
Yeah.
Now we see Jack's response to kind of that's been thrown at him.
Yeah.
And it's this very dark, kind of evil human thing.
Yeah.
The Doctor would never do this. He is being the monster that he's just been called, because he's a flawed human being. Yeah. What he's doing is really, really spiteful and really, really awful, because he's angry. Like, it's just pure spite. And I like having Jack, who, when he knows he can trust people, he will, you know, defend and risk his life for them That clearly that's like, once the trust is gone, he's like, fuck it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that. I think what he's doing is evil, but at no point do I dislike Jack.
Oh, yeah.
I still like completely understand him. And I'm like, nah, fair play. I'd be pissed off too, mate.
Yeah.
So I guess this is Jack's way of figuring out, because he says you need to know where your loyalties lie. If he can do this, then we have hope. And so he sends him in to kill Lisa.
Yeah, you're right. It's he's not making the decision of what's the most sensible play here. He's making the decision. He's testing Yanto, which is stupid and irresponsible and spiteful, and
because he's a human.
But it's
I think it's like Jack is like the only possible way that we can move forward as a team is if Yanto can now prove to us that he is on our side again.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we've just lost a team member and there's no going back from it. So that's when Yanto heads in and he sees Lisa's dead body, the sexy cyber lady. She's dead. He's just mourning over that and crying. And then he sees the pizza delivery girl come in and is like, what are you doing here? And she gives her little monologue, making it clear that it's Lisa. And it's so painful. It's like, I remember watching this when I was a teenager. And every time people made these great sacrifices because of love, I was like, grow up. I could not understand. I was like, yeah, all right, you love her. I'm sure that's really hard, but you've got to save the world. I was really logical about it, but genuinely, now that I'm an adult, now that I have been in love and been in a healthy, loving relationship, everything I ever watched that has this kind of storyline in it, it's a complete switch.
Yeah.
Like, I see stuff like Yanto, I'm like, absolutely. I used to think these people were absolute idiots, and now I'm like, no, if I was in that situation, there is nothing on earth that could make me give up the chance that the person I loved was still there.
Yeah.
Because that's what love is. It's stupid. Especially because, you know, we get this thing where the pizza delivery girl comes in and it's kind of a Russell style speech, isn't it?
Yes.
So she's in this different body and he's like, this is wrong. You're not Lisa. And she's like, you always said you didn't care about my looks. The last time you said that to me, it was like the morning and you complained I hadn't descaled my kettle.
Yeah.
But something random but like emotive enough, like descaling a kettle is just hits somewhere, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And also very in keeping with the fact that they clearly lived in London.
Yes, it would need
dirty London water.
That's such a good point. Oh, that's great. That's brilliant.
She's like, that night we camped on a beach in Brittany and it got so freezing that we wore our coats and shared a sleeping bag. And when we woke up, a dog was pissing on our tent. And it's this really cute, like emotional monologue of a loving memory between this couple. And I'm just suddenly like watching it from such a completely different perspective as an adult that I'm like, if I was experiencing that with the person I love in front of me, even if it didn't look like them, that kind of really gut-wrenching memory, no way in hell would I be able to kill them.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I completely sympathize.
Yeah. That's it. All you have to do is think, what's the story they could tell me that would be like, you know, with your partner, you're going to have so many shared memories and stories and in-jokes and just stupid ways you talk to each other. And it's horrific, but it is really, it gets me in the end, that bit.
I'm powerless.
Yeah.
I could not kill this person. Even though the evidence that she's just murdered someone is right in front of me, I just can't, because I'm a dumb, in-love human, and that's how it works.
The thing I really like about this is that it's really ambiguous whether this brain transplant has cured her of Cyberman stuff.
At this point it is,
At this point. Like, eventually it's clear. And actually, even at this point, if you paused the episode and asked yourself, has this cured her? You'd go, well, it obviously hasn't. Because she is now in the body of a woman she's just killed. Yeah. And she doesn't care. But there's just enough ambiguity in there. You know, she's not using words like convert and upgrade anymore. Which means you feel that hope. Yeah. You certainly can't pull the trigger. Oh, it's so horrible.
He's doing well, in fairness. Jack's plan is working out well. He is having this awful decision, but he does keep raising the gun. He keeps going to be like, no, clearly this is not you. And then at that moment while he's deciding, we get the line, oh, but this is how it's meant to be, like we're back together. We can be upgraded together, which is our final evidence that she is not back to Lisa. Yeah. This is a Cyberwoman. And in fact, it may have been that she used the memories of Yanto's girlfriend with the specific intention of getting him on side purely so that they could upgrade the world together, which is even sadder because it's like that glimmer of hope is completely gone.
So Yanto clearly is not going to be able to kill his girlfriend. even though she's still clearly a Cyberwoman. But ultimately, he doesn't need to. He tries, he occasionally raises the gun, but ultimately his team are there for him, and they execute his girlfriend, standing 4 abreast, by shooting her in the stomach.
Yeah, this is right. So, like, on the one hand, it's really nice in a way that once it's clear that Yanto is trying his best and does understand what he needs to do, the team then make it so that he doesn't have to be the one to kill her. They do it for him.
Yeah.
But they do it in a beautiful formation. Really well lit, like a lovely shot. And we were like joking in the living room as this was playing. We were like, oh, they set that up perfectly, didn't they? It's like they're all like, oh, a bit of target practice together. And I was just, it kind of started to feel like, because it was so perfect, they're all in formation, all the panic is gone. I half expected Jack to be like, okay, lads, that was your team building session. Great work, everybody. Like, I set this all up, it's not real. And Yanto's like, and the same music comes in like, oh, Yanto. Great work, everyone. It's just so weirdly like, here we are to save the day.
It's something that I've seen. It's a criticism I've seen of like the Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who series. Obviously, I refuse to accept any criticism of the Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who series, which I adore and love. But someone's pointed out that like, so in that show, in that version of the show, she has 3 companions. So there's 4 regulars, and they all almost always walk in like a diamond formation, which is one of those things that kind of looks...
Usual formation.
Yeah. It's like when you're sort of shooting down, again, it looks great in trailers, but when you think about it from the perspective of like, these are 4 best friends traveling through time and space, why are they walking in this like incredibly weird way? It was like, this shot of the 4 of them holding their guns at Lisa, that shot gets used in trailers. In fact, I think it might even be in the like pre-credit sequence of Torchwood. It's just like one of the montagey bits that gets used.
Yeah.
And it works there because it makes sense. Yeah, like it just looks like they're doing target practice. But when you see it in context of the episode, it just feels so strange.
Because also, like, Yanto didn't hear them come in, clearly. They've had to go through 7 different alarmed doors. And they get there, and they're like, all right, come on. Okay. Owen, you go there. Right, you go there. Ready. And then, obviously, they started shooting at exactly the same time. But there's been several times Yanto's brought up his gun and put it back down. So who gave the nod? Who's like, 3, 2, 1, go! It just doesn't make any sense. So that's the ending for the main bit. After that, it's really, actually, I tell you, the saddest shot for me. So that finishes, we get some sad music as it pans out, and I guess we've accepted that Yanto has redeemed himself enough that he's allowed to stay in Torchwood. Gwen and Jack have a brief chat. Would you have shot me if I'd gone up and stood by him? Yeah. You were really intense there, mate. What was your limit going to be? The weird Gwen and Jack flirting thing, I don't like. Yeah. But I love the depictions of Jack just having this really bizarre protection of Gwen. Watching these ones back now, going right up to series 4 makes much more sense. That he loves Gwen. Like, he absolutely loves her. He loves everything she represents, her humanity and her kindness and her empathy, and really, really respects her and genuinely thinks Torchwood needs her, but doesn't fancy her. That's what their relationship is supposed to be. Yeah. Briefly, Gwen says that she thought he might be able to die when Lisa zapped him, and he was like, so did I. That was scary. And then the final shot we get is just Yanto cleaning up after the mess. Yeah. He's walking alone through the hub, holding a bin bag and cleaning up the rubbish. And to me, that was the most evil thing that had happened to him. Yeah. Come on now. Jack and Gwen are having a chat in the office, and they look out, and this poor man who's just lost everything. Yes, he was hiding stuff from you, but like, surely that should be a representation of how much pain he was in to lose Lisa. Yeah. You don't even send him home. Yeah. Like, Gwen and Jack are providing each other with aftercare, aren't they? That's what they're doing. I thought you were dead. God, I thought I was too. And you just think neither of you is the person who's been through the worst thing in this experience. He could have been like clearing up all that stuff, and Jack could have like just gone up, like put a hand on his shoulder and put a cup of coffee in front of him. Yeah. Something to symbolize the new era. Just anything. But God, Yanto was absolutely right. No wonder he was hiding stuff from them. Yeah. They don't care about him. It just makes me so angry. Like, that's the saddest shot of the whole episode, I think. That is so true.
It's weird, isn't it? It's like a weird mirror of the fact that, before, members of the team can behave appallingly and they don't get fired. They get told off a little bit, but nothing. There's no consequences in that regard. And that's true here as well. There's no consequences for Yanta hiding his creepy cyber girlfriend in the cellar. But equally, there's no acknowledgement that he needs to be taken care of.
Yeah. What we have here, although it was betrayal, this was a member of Torchwood holding on to the last bit of humanity they had.
Yeah.
And Yanto has basically now just lost everything. All that made him have a life outside Torchwood, all of his hope, anything he could cling on to. It's like the other members have all been sucked in anyway. And what we've just witnessed is that last glimmer of hope going away. And Torchwood is now his life and all he has. I think that's why the clear up shot is really sad for me, because Jack is showing so much concern for Gwen keeping her humanity while watching someone else lose his with no care for it.
And also we know that Gwen isn't keeping hold of her humanity because she kissed Owen in that autopsy drawer. She has the life that Yanto wished he could have had with Lisa. And she's throwing that away because ultimately Torchwood infects everything. And I hadn't drawn that connection before, but there is something quite telling about Gwen kissing Owen while failing to answer a call from Reese, while both of them are hiding from Yanto's girlfriend.
Yeah. It's a very sad ending. And also, I mean, that episode's so sad that we don't really have any Torchwood moments of the week. We had 2 right at the start.
Yeah.
So what was the Torchwood moment you suggested?
So it was Jack finding the idea of a driving rotor fundamentally laughable.
Yeah. I actually would kind of like to nominate the 7 alarms.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah, that's really funny.
But I don't know if you would fully agree, because it might be a bit of a lazy one, but I do think that Yanto hiding his cyber girlfriend in the basement has to be the Torchwood moment of the week.
It has to be, doesn't it?
Even though it's the entire episode. But yeah, I think that's us, isn't it?
I think that's it.
Cool. So that was episode 4 of series 1 of Torchwood, Sexy Cyberwoman. The next episode, this is the point where I'm like, okay, it gets good from here. I quite like the next one. It's a good episode. Small Worlds, is that it?
I think it's
Small
called,
Worlds, yeah. Thank you very much, Steph.
No worries at all.
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was lovely.